What? X93 A child that is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. X94 Story do you have? As a kid who was beaten for years by mother and stepfather and dad knew this but wouldn't help me in the slightest way and treated me horribly, I can honestly say that as the kid who would take care of an ailing parent, I will now, as an adult, tell that now ailing parent that they are on their own to fend for himself. I'd say the majority of bullied kids who turn to crime have that story. My friend at work had a rough childhood. Nevertheless, he was always cool to me. He'd cover my shifts and sit with me at dinner break. Anyway, he stabbed his grandpa to death and burned down his house. It was so sudden. Basically, the children that grow up in poverty that turn to a life of crime. You can look up the stats, and growing up in poverty is extremely stressful for a child and has terrible implications on one's life. Give children access to resources and change the world. It really does take a village, and the village can be as big as a nation. My father is a narcissist with schizoaffective disorder. He abused me until I was 22 and cut contact. I'm 31 now. My grandmother, his mother, tried to guilt me the other day into speaking to him because he got worms. I doubt this is real. He has paranoid delusions, and was oh so sick. If the worms are real, I'm rooting for the worms. Fuck him. I love to read these stories because most of the time nobody ever gets accountable and the child grows up to be a spiteful person or, with too much baggage, and it's crucified because of it. I should know. 30 years of emotional and physical abuse from my mother and I finally went no contact shocked Pikachu face. That guy who got a hold of a tank and destroyed his town comes to mind EDIT. It was a bulldozer. I'm just looking at the burning down the village portion, not that deep folks. When you look into the past of Aileen Wuornos, you understand why she became the first known woman serial killer to many. It definitely makes you consider the nurture part over nature in her case. My sister is the golden child whilst I was the scapegoat. Long story short, I got the emotional and physical abuse whilst my sister could get away with blue murder. Now I've cut my narc mom off permanently. I blew up my family by no longer being the black sheep they piled everything on. I went to court and let it all rip when uncle asked me to testify for them. My family has a history of narcissistic behavior and I just guess they thought I'd be meek about it. Nope. I watched it all burn as every family member got ripped through. I'm currently taking the world over as we speak, to be continued. Couple of my college mates used to haze me and bully me. We had to go to a mutual friend's wedding, and we rented a car and drove there. On the way back, we took a bit of a detour and went through a more scenic route. I left them in the middle of the road near nowhere when they went out to pee. They didn't have their phones with them either. One time I used that quote and some Karen said, "Not all neglected children." A lot of people here seem to confuse setting healthy boundaries with toxic family members and burning the village down. Like, holy hell, telling your abusive parent they can live with you isn revenge, self-preservation, go easy on yourself. Gestures vaguely at everything. Our company was acquired and there were some negative changes along with screwing me over a promised raise and bonus. I shared my job search findings with my team, reviewed resumes, and coached. Our entire team found jobs and put in 1 mo notices over the course of 2 months, most doubling salaries in the move. Shouldn't have flocked me over. I think there's a David Foster Wallace short story where this is effectively the story in a nutshell.